Are you tired of feeling run down and exhausted? In our fast-paced world, we're often surrounded by toxins that impact our well-being. I provide holistic solutions designed to detoxify your body and environment. With cutting-edge AO voice scan technology, we identify the root causes of your discomfort or dis-ease, making personalized healing easier than ever. Start your transformative journey towards a healthier, toxin-free life, because at White Sands Self-Care, your well-being is our priority.
Everyone, my name's Barbara Hayward and I'm known as the Oracle. I've been a medium clairvoyant now, practicing for 40 years plus. I'm also a CPTSD survivor since I've been 4 years old, and I'm now in my 70s. Thank you for watching our video and learning more about my journey on both spiritual and my private life. You can find me on theoldgirlspiritualstuff.com for more information about my work.
Well, welcome everybody to another Mindful Monday. And this week we are honored to welcome Barbara Hayward. She's a true embodiment of resilience and transformation. Barb's journey is nothing short of remarkable. She's a survivor of forced adoption and the unimaginable pain of abuse she faced, heartbreaks and losses that would have broken many. So yet through the shadows of her past, she found the light. Barb is a devoted mother, grandmother, medium, and storyteller who has spent over 40 years navigating the complexities of life with trust, love, and forgiveness. So please welcome Barbara Hayward, the Oracle. I'm so happy to have you with us here today, Barbara.
Thank you so much, Laura. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So if you don't mind, I'd love to start a little bit with your journey, because you're a survivor of forced adoption and unimaginable abuse. So can you share with us a little bit of your journey and how did all that start?
Okay. Now, I'll just give you an overview, really. When I was 4, 5, and 6, I was molested by an outsider. And so that began my journey of mistrust, if you like. As a little girl, we don't know that everything is wrong, but we know how to keep secrets. And so I was also an intelligent child. And so when I started school, I was in Australia, in Victoria. This particular school, they needed one more student. And they looked around and they found that I was one of the children. I could count and I knew my alphabet. And so they put me into school to make up one student to get another teacher. And so I was in that grade for 10 days and I was taken up to grade 1. Now, in Australia, the system is a little bit different. And so what that meant was when I went to high school, I was 10 years old. And so I was very, very young to go to high school. And in fact, I may have even been 9 when I started, and then I became 10. When I was 12, I wasn't supposed to be out, and I snuck up to the milk bar to get some lollies, and unfortunately there was 2 men waiting for me. Not me particularly, but me, because I was there. And so I went home after that, and again I couldn't tell anybody because I wasn't supposed to be out. So I carried that burden myself as well. Now, it did change me. One of the things that I found when I was 8 years old, I found marching. And so I became a marching girl, and that became my savior, if you like. My family was very dysfunctional. My Friday night entertainment was my sister and I would run down to the police station every Friday night to ask for help because Dad was bashing Mum up and all sorts of alcohol and stuff like that was happening. And so this was the environment. So what I had was school and I had marching. Now, unfortunately, and my father was a bit of he liked the ladies, and he went into the marching group and had a relationship with a mother there. And unfortunately, everybody knew about that. So that sacred space of mine became non sacred after that.
Wow.
So I got a boyfriend, and I was very in love, as one is at 15. And so then, um, after I was 16, I found that I was pregnant. Um, I then had to tell the parents. We had to tell the parents we wanted to get married. And so we told my parents, then we told his parents. So I'll go through it really quickly because it is important. This part of the story is quite important. We went to his parents, and they were very authoritarian, and they took it really well. We were really frightened, and they asked us what we wanted to do, and we said we wanted to get married. He was in a profession, and he was going up the ladder, and so forth. So they said, let us think on it. And we left there thinking that it was going to be okay. And so I went to marching, and after marching on Saturday, my mother said that his parents had rung them, and they were coming over at 2 o'clock on Sunday for a conversation. And so we were to be there. So my boyfriend, he got there a bit early, and they got there right on time. And so my boyfriend and I were going into the lounge with both sets of parents. His mother said, "You're not invited into this conversation. You stay in the kitchen, and when we're ready, we'll call you in." And so they called us in, and went to sit down, and she said, it's as clear as day. It was a long time ago, but it's as clear as day. And she said, "No need to sit. We're not staying. We've got things to do. Tomorrow you are going to resign from your job." I had a brilliant job. "You're to resign your job. Gary will pick you up at 6 o'clock. We've organised with our doctor for a medical checkup for you, and we've already organised for you to go into a girls' home, an unwed mother's home. We've started the adoption process. You won't be keeping the baby." And I was just, and then they said goodbye, and don't forget, don't be late because the doctor is expecting you. And that was it. And that was the process. So I went to work, and I resigned, and I left my job, and I went into an unwed girls' home. And it was really harsh. I did come home on a Saturday afternoon to visit my parents. Unfortunately, and you might as well get the really grotty details. Unfortunately, when I got home, my sister, one older than me, and my father were fighting. And being, the saviour, I got in the middle, and my father was so angry that and he gave me a very good belting, and it was all around the stomach area. And that was the last time I went home until after the baby was born. Once the baby was born, it was on the 30th of January at 8:30 in the morning. The nurse said, it's a boy, and she left even before I heard his voice. I didn't even get to hear his sound of his cry. And so he was completely taken away. And that's the way it was in those days.
Wow.
So I went back to the home for a while to sign the papers, and so once I signed the papers, then I was told in the meeting with both parents, I was told that if we decided after signing the papers, because you've got 30 days to change your mind, if we changed our mind or we ran away together, that the police would be called in and Gary would go to jail.
Wow.
And we couldn't have that. So there was manipulation all around the place.
Well,
When
and I
I got,
guess it sounds kind of unfathomable, but then again, you said you were what, 15 or 16. So I
I
guess
was
just
16.
because of
I
the
was
age,
16.
you had no
I had
say in
no
it.
voice. I had no voice.
Wow.
We're going back, 56 years ago now. So when I came home, because things were very different in those days. When I got home, I was home for 2 weeks, and after a baby, your body's got to get back together and all sorts of things. And so my mother said to me, and her words of wisdom, she said, "Barb, you're going to get a job. I'm not supporting you. There's nothing wrong with you now," she said, "and I want you to put it behind you because after all you've done is had a baby. After all you've done is had a baby." Now, I needed to do whatever it took to keep my boyfriend. I did love him. He seemed to have loved me, and we did stay together, even though we had two parents that both sets of parents were totally against it. But we had to hold each other because that's all there was.
Right.
And so we did get married to both parents' absolute disgust. I went on to have two miscarriages. I then had my first son that I raised. I then went on to have three miscarriages, and I had my last son. And so that marriage had no chance of surviving. It had absolutely no chance because we've got this white elephant in the room. And those days we couldn't talk about it. I went through deep depression. I went through psychological issues. I was in and out of psychiatric hospitals, many attempts of not being here anymore, and serious attempts. And the marriage just it lasted 7 years. And when I would say to people, the first issue, the abuse, hurt me. The second damaged me, but the third one broke me. I was broken. And I equate it to getting a hammer on a watch and hitting it. It's 12 o'clock. It always remains 12 o'clock. And it doesn't matter what you do. And later in life, when I finally got counselling, I realised that was a very common thing. So what happened to me and a lot of people, because there was no psychological help, they didn't know the damage that had happened. They think because you don't hold a baby, you don't bond with the baby. But
Right.
we had 9 months to bond.
Yeah, I was going to say you carried him for 9 months, and the other thing that just I can't wrap my head or hard for me to wrap my head around is, when your mother said that there's nothing wrong with you now, like there was something wrong with you because you were
Before.
pregnant.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's
wow.
like all you've done is had a baby. I haven't got a broken leg. I haven't got anything. I've just had a baby. So there was none of that healing. So when I was in and out of hospital, they thought that I was just neurotic, and so they treated me as such. When in one of my times in hospital, um, I had to tell my parents what happened when I was little. I had to tell my parents. And so I rang my father. I was 28 years old. I rang my father, and he was completely devastated. He had the reaction that he should have had. And I asked why he never came back after a few years. And he said there was something wrong and I didn't know what it was. And he said, you need to tell your mother. And so he got my mum on the phone, and my mother absolutely destroyed me. She said, "You've always been a liar. How dare you lie about that wonderful man? You've nothing but caused trouble in this family since the day you were born," blah, blah, and on she went. So there was I lied. She told me that I'd lied. And so I carried that burden right through. So I was a broken adult trying to make adult decisions as a 16-year-old, very narcissistic girl as 16-year-olds are. And so the other side of my world, to come in, I had a very dear friend, Kay, and she would say to me, "I don't know how you know things, Barb. It's like you just drop these pearls of wisdom." Now, I'm just trying to fight to survive, to be alive.
Mhm.
I've tried not to be alive many times, and I just didn't fit in. And I went back to marching for a couple of years, but I was the Scarlet Woman, of course, and through the attitudes of the day. And so I didn't understand what the damage had done. I really didn't. Then I got left at 30 years old with two young children. I met a guy, and we went to an evening, a clairvoyant evening, and there was a lady there called Crystal, and I had a 10-minute reading with her, and I just fell in love with her. It was her energy. I rang her up, I had a reading, and I would just hound her. Today you might call it stalking, but it was really about her energy. I just wanted her energy. It was a familiar, unknown energy to me. She said to me one day after maybe 6 months of hounding her, I want to do an astrology chart on you, because I think there's something I need to know about you. So she did that. And when she came back about a month later, she said, you've got 6 gifts that you've come down this lifetime to use. And it's up to you how many of those you use. Now, I'm going to become your teacher. I only have one student at a time, and I'll be your teacher until I'm not. Because I said, how long, are you going to teach me? And she said, until I don't. And as long as it will be. And it turned out to be 8 years.
Wow.
But in the first time, she run by really, really hard rules. Now, I've got 2 young children. My eldest is 7 and my youngest is just not 5 when my husband left. And I now need to struggle with finances. I've never done finances before. I'm struggling at home. I've got an alcoholic problem, because I'm just neurotic, and chaos is flowing everywhere. Today, more than likely, the children would have been taken away from me. But I was on my own. I didn't have parents. I had a sister who tried to tell me how to raise my boys because she knew exactly how to do it better, and I left her in the wind. And all my friends, bar one, left me. And so I'm just this very struggling person trying to raise 2 beautiful boys, and I was an incredibly good mother, and I was an incredibly bad mother at the same time. So both of those things happened. So then Crystal is teaching me, but she's teaching me, the over picture is, she said to me, you cannot touch a pack of cards or give a healing or give a message until I tell you you're ready. I want you to understand who God is, your God is. I want you to get a relationship with your people in spirit. I want you to have a partnership going. I want you to go out to nature and talk to nature. She said to me, as an example, if you can formulate the question, I'll give you the answer. If you can't formulate the question, you're not going to be ready for the answer. And so I thought, oh, this is really good. Now, I can't remember the first question, but I do remember the answer. She said, Barb, I like that question. That's a really good question. Now, what I want you to do is go and ask the universe that, and keep your eyes and ears open. And life itself will teach you the answer. When you've got the answer, come back and we'll talk about it. And in the whole 8 years that we were together, we only sat down about 5 times where she would actually answer me. And so she wanted, what I quote in the book, as she wanted me to hear the unseen and see the unheard. And so nature will teach me. And in the book, I talk about at Himatangi Beach in pine forest, there's no pine trees. There's no pine cones.
Mhm.
And it's winter, it's cold in New Zealand. And how I spoke to the grandfather tree and told him my concerns, and we needed the pine cones. And we went to this open space, and there was other people there as well. It wasn't just us. And we saw hundreds and hundreds of pine cones rise up from underneath the pine needles, and we went home with 23 bags just from that one spot. And these were the things she wanted me to learn. She said, look, anybody can be a clairvoyant, anybody can do healing. But as you raise your vibration, all that is already there automatically. But you've got to get this together. I didn't understand my journey. And so I'm still struggling with mental problems, raising too much alcohol. And then a man walks into my life who said wasn't going to come in, but he came in, and he was everything I did not want in a man. Like I sent out an affirmation, Infinite Spirit, send to me the divine perfect man, the man that you have that is divinely mine, the one that is perfect for me. Allow him to come quickly with love in a perfect way. 3 months later, in walks this person. He's skinny, he's balding, and he speaks a funny language. I can't understand him when he laughs. It's like, what are you doing to me, God? Well, 36 years later, he's still with me. And so he took on my boys as well. And see, he became the grounding part of me flying out there. Once he came into my world, the need to not be here wasn't as great. He allowed me to be exactly who I wanted to be, which I didn't know who that was yet. And so
Funny how that
it was,
happens.
yeah, it was 5 years with Crystal before I was allowed to give a message. And one day she said, "You're ready now, go build your house." And so the journey began. So it was sheer tenacity. And it wasn't for the want of staying here, it was the want that God wanted me to stay here. Because if I had my way, I wouldn't have. Because I didn't know the true damage that forced adoption, and it was a closed adoption. And I've often thought about today an adoption, and babies being adopted out. The circumstances are different, and you get open adoptions and all sorts of things now. But you know what? The pain is still the same.
I would
The pain
imagine. Yeah.
is the same. And so life unfold. The boys are growing up beautifully, or neurotically, or dysfunctionally, however you like to call it. And I come
I will say this, Barbara. Everyone looks at someone else and thinks they're dysfunctional. Nobody's perfect, so it's okay.
absolutely. I talk about my boys, and I say that they absolutely perfect. My these two that I raised are absolutely perfect. They've just got quite a few idiosyncrasies. That's the way I like to look at it. Idiosyncrasies. And so life unfold. I came to New Zealand because my hubby's a New Zealander, and life took a very interesting turn. Um, Things unfolded, and I got a radio show. I've got listeners. I'm a real clairvoyant. I'm doing this real stuff, and we're going back around 33 years ago now, I guess, and. And we had 35,000 listeners a fortnight. Like that was huge in little New
Oh,
Zealand,
that's incredible. Yeah.
Um, and all the work that I've done spiritually basically has been before the internet. So everything I've done, all my philosophy, all my learnings and teachings, but there's always this thing behind me, always this thing that is broken. And when he was 18, it was a boy, as I said. When he was 18, I went to an agency and I tried to locate him, and you do it through an intermediary. And I got a letter back saying that he wasn't interested, and if he was ever interested, he will contact you. Don't ever contact him again.
Wow.
And so I'm being subservient, as I was. Uh, I never did. I never did. I took it verbatim. Because back then we had a thing that's now known as disenfranchised grief. And in that, it's a grief that you have where you can't share it with anybody because society doesn't want to know. And it's very, very different to a miscarriage or a cot death or anything, where you have people come and grieve with you, and you can talk about it. Ours was silent. I wasn't allowed to mention it at home. We weren't allowed to mention it anywhere. And because I was sent away to a girls' home, none of the relatives knew about it. None of our friends knew about it, and so it was a deep secret. And when you live with those sort of secrets, it just eats you up, and it does so much damage. They know different now, thank goodness. So life is unfolding. I'm really well known. I'm doing a lot of really good work, and I changed my name from my when I got a divorce, and it's Barbara D. Hayward, and my eldest son that I raised, I took his middle name D, and my youngest son's middle name, and I created a whole new name. What I didn't understand back then was I was creating a persona, because the Barb that was underneath the public figure was broken. She
Mhm.
was so damaged that she couldn't. But the public figure, she's amazing. She's magical, and she solves people's problems, and she could speak to spirit, and she could see spirit, and she can bring people from the other side through, and she runs workshops, and she's so knowledgeable. But the broken barb. But I didn't know that until a very long time later. So in my day, I did about 14,000 readings. So, I've been around the traps once or twice. But this was always sitting there. And then I'm 60. I'm in the shower. I'm not quite 60. I'm 59. And I'm in the shower, and Dennis is, we're in Perth. He's in the mines, and I'm not wanting to be here anymore. I'm tired.
Right.
So I said to Spirit, I had a real shot at Mum and Dad, and my ex-husband's in Spirit, and God didn't miss out on my good hissy fit as well. It was a brilliant one, and I write about that in my book. And I just said to God, I want to come home. I just want to come home. I'm tired. I said, I've served you. I've served everything you've wanted me to do. I've served the people. My children are of age where they've got children and they can take care of themselves, but please let me come home. I'm tired. And I said to them, if there's something you want me to do, then it's up to you to save me. But I'm not begging that. I truly want to come home. And long short story, uh, I'm now 60. It's my 60th birthday. My young son, I've got a son in New Zealand living, so he didn't come over. We're in Perth. My other son's in Melbourne, and he comes over for our birthday. And my husband's 60 a day after me. So we're this one day apart, same year, different
Nice.
country. And there's so many synchronicities. And and on the so that's the 8th of April, my birthday. On the 9th of April, my son gets a text from his father's partner, and he took the phone call, and he comes back and he said, well, that's really interesting, Mum. That was a really interesting phone call. I said, why? He said, actually, it involves you. I said, well, what has anything to do with your father got to do with me? It's like 30 years since I've been with him.
Right.
And he said, when, his partner got home, there was a letter for Dad. And he said, Mum, it's for you. And he said, I said, what did the letter say? He said, Mister, if you are of this age, could you please phone the office? If you're not this person, could you hand the letter over? He said, I think Charlie's looking for you, Mum. Charlie's not his name. I think Charlie's looking for you. I said, what do you mean? He said it was from Anglicare. Now, this is my 60th birthday. He was taken at 16. And I said, no. And I said, who's Anglicare? He said, you know who Anglicare is. No, he said, they're the ones we went looking for Charlie. He said, I think he's looking for you, Mum. So anyway, we rang the number, and the journey began. He was 43, and he's 56 now. He's still part of our family. I have my 3 sons. They have the one father, which is what I wanted. I believe in, deliberate manifestation. What I didn't know back then was I decided at 18 that I only wanted one father for my children. I didn't want 2. So if I wasn't to marry him, then I would not have any more children. I made that decision. And so I was able to have 3 boys, and to me, it was a really good thing. Now, a little bit of synchronicity, the son that was taken away from me and my son, the first son that I raised, were born on the same day.
Wow.
6 years later and 50 minutes difference. So, and I want to talk a little bit spiritually, if I can, about the coming back of my son. I did get some help at counselling at this stage. Counselling wouldn't have helped me before. And at this stage, in that year, 2013, um, the Australian government had given a formal apology for forced adoption. It was a bill put into the parliament,
Mhm.
and all sorts of, so we were recognised as our babies were taken. We were not giving our children away as it was previously told to everybody. They were taken through forced adoption. So it became a bill in Australia. It was the first country in the world. And it happened that year. Um, and it was
Did that help you at all? I mean,
It
did it?
did. It did. I watched. I didn't know about it until my counsellor told me about it, and I watched this speech. And you can find it, Julia Gillard, the Australian Forced Adoption Act, and she gave the most amazing speech. But I cried like I'd not cried before, and it made everything. It made sense. I understood my first husband better. I understood the pain that I didn't realize he'd gone through. I was just so focused on my pain. But when we started communicating through a medium at Anglicare, and then he wanted to know all sort of information, and then there was 6 weeks between the next um, communication, and I kept bringing up my moderator there, mediator there, and she said, "Well, I can't do anything. Just leave it. He's good. He's good. You know." Because we were walking on eggshells. Anyway, I get a letter, and I said to Den, "Please open it up because he's going to say he doesn't want anything to do with me." This is what happens,
Mhm.
and 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 he read it, and he said to me, "Hi, Barb. Sorry about the delay. I've been busy at work, but I've needed to think about what I wanted to do next. Blah 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 blah." And he wanted to know more about us. And Laura, it was so incredible. I I said to Dennis, "Oh my God, Gary's behind this." Now Gary's been dead a long time. I
Mhm.
said, "Gary's behind this." He said, "How do you know?" I said, "Because when Craig wrote the letter to find me was on my birthday, the 8th of April. It was on the date on the letter. Have a look at the date on this that he wrote this letter back to me." He said the 7th of July. I said, "That's Gary's birthday." It could have been any other day, 360 odd days it could have written it, but he wrote it on Gary's birthday. Gary was telling me, "I couldn't help you back then, but I can now."
Wow.
And so I knew that he was behind it. So,
And this was all after your conversation too about you just wanted to come home.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what they wanted me here for. Partly, they
Mhm.
wanted me here for that. And it's not an easy journey. Anybody out there, you think you watch these programs where they go and hug each other in the park and sit down and love it. No, it's not like that. There is a saying in our world: the slower it takes you to get to know each other, the longer you will stay with each other. And so think of this, Laura. I've met this man. I don't even know if he likes tea or coffee. He's my son. I
Right.
don't know if he likes jam or Vegemite or honey. I did find out that he likes jelly and my other son likes custard. Um, I don't know if he likes spicy food. So we've got to start from scratch. At 43, we've got to start from scratch. And so um, when we got together for the first birthday that was his birthday, that I was able to celebrate with him. He was 45, and my other son's birthday, remember, on the same day. So it was the very first time in all those years, decades, that I put one cake, two candles, and they blew it out together. So after that, I got lots of counselling. I did lots of healing. I took 10 years off work to start to heal properly. Um, I'm not fully there. As you can see, I teared up today, but that's okay. But the saving grace was my persona. But what I realized around the 59 age group, that persona started to fall away, and I I couldn't be that persona anymore. And so I had to, and that's when all this started to unfold. So that's the long and short story of marrying without spirit, my work with spirit. I would not be complete, even though people think you're complete. But you see, I was born this spiritual being. I didn't find it consciously until I was 30, but I wasn't meant to. I was meant to go through these other journeys. And these other journeys allowed me compassion, it allowed me empathy, it allowed me to hear and to listen and to understand pain. It allowed me to be a much better person. I can't say I want to go through it again.
No, I wouldn't imagine. No, there's a lot of things I think we've gone through. It's like, yeah, I don't need to go through it again. Learn
No,
my
no,
lesson, and I'm
got
moving
got
on.
the t-shirt. I learned
Yeah,
the lesson. Don't need to go there now.
no,
So um, it's when you marry two diverse aspects of a life, my life, it's hard to comprehend the devastation and the absolute brilliance, and to be able to marry both into an ordinariness of life. Um, and I do believe my life is quite ordinary. Others tell me it's not. Um, I've been able to accomplish great things in my life. And I often think, what would I have accomplished without being broken? But I can't know that because all I know is broken. And so we never know what somebody's carrying with them.
right.
We never know what somebody's carrying behind them and inside them. We have to be so gentle with each other.
Yeah. That's why I always believe in, not judgment. It's like one of the things when you're saying in the beginning of your story, it's like, yeah, I think that's still true today. Everybody has their opinions on how they think you should raise somebody or do something. And it's like, it's not your family. It's not it's not your place.
You know, I had it said to me years ago within the family that I really was a really bad mother. And I had to agree with them. And I said to this person, and this is a lesson out there too, if you want to say that I'm a bad mum or bad at anything, look around. You're going to find all the evidence to prove you're right.
Hmm.
But if you want to think that I've been a good mum, you know what? Look around. You're going to find all the evidence to prove you're right. I am both things. I am both of those things. And my eldest son, I rang him up one day. He might have been about 25. He's now 50. The other day, and I said, I just rang to tell you how proud of you I am. I am of you, that you have got this incredible sense of who you are, this incredible sense of self, despite your dysfunctional upbringing. And he said, Mum, he said it was dysfunctional. Don't get me wrong, it was very dysfunctional.
Hmm.
But could it be that I have this incredible sense of self, not despite it, but because of it? And so I never hid who I was to my boys. Who I was who I was. So they understood they were there in the ups and the downs and the ins and outs. And so they understand that. And when I look at their lives with their relationships, they're a lot more gentle. They're a lot more understanding because of that.
Yeah.
But the saving grace for me was that I have such a love for spirit. I have a love for my work. It's the only time that I really am able to be fully me and embraced, and I don't care what people say about my work. I've had it all said to me. Trust me, I've had being a public figure, having my own radio show, of course, I was incredibly well known at that stage. Thank goodness I had a different surname to my boys and my husband, so that, when you're at high school and you're 16-year-old and you've got a mother on radio as a clairvoyant, it's not so kosher.
Yeah.
It's not so good. But at
I think
17,
the world still has
when
a little trouble with that, although it's starting to get a little more accepted. But yeah, I think the
yeah,
world still has trouble with
but
that.
can I tell you, Laura, at 17, when you're a boy at high school and your mum's on radio as a clairvoyant, it's very good. It's very good because the girls love you. The girls absolutely love you. And both of my boys have not been short of using my name to drop when they've met a girl. So we understand fully about that. Um,
Nice.
they're the funny parts. There's lots of funny parts in my world that has happened. Um, you know, there's a saying: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. I've added to the end of that. Nothing changes and nothing remains the same. My scarf is going everywhere. Don't you love that? And then
It's
I
very
just got a message to say that my energy on the computer's just run short. So we've got this spiritual conversation. Now I have to be very physical and put the power to the computer. Don't you just
that
love the
does help.
doesn't don't you just love the synchronicities of life and the idiosyncrasies and the whole performance of life? You cannot take it too seriously most of the time.
I was gonna say, and I love how you find all the synchronicities instead of just like, oh my god, this, it's like there's a synchrony. It's just so much of a peace and calm about you, especially after everything you've been through. Um,
Thank you.
so, I mean, can I ask you then, what advice can you give to someone that's currently facing like significant challenges in their life? What would you tell them?
Get help. Get help. Get a team around you. Don't it's don't feel guilty. Don't carry shame. There is no shame in anything. They're just experiences. And when we carry shame, the pain is deeper. We allow pain to go deeper. Um, what I didn't have was I didn't have a team. I didn't have friends to talk to. I didn't have medical help. I didn't have, we didn't have a therapist or anything. And take yourself a little bit more lightly. Find the little bits in life that you can laugh at. Find the find nature. Just look at the grass, look at a flower, let it bring love into you. Do not do your journey alone. Don't do your journey alone. There
Yeah.
is nothing short of being a really, really heinous person that you should be ashamed of anything. Put that aside. Let others embrace you. You know, it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to help a mother raise a child.
Yeah. I always tell people it's like you got to find your tribe. When you find your tribe, and you it feels like a big family. You may not have got to meet them in person. I mean, you can do it through Zooms too.
Absolutely.
I know you and I do it with a group with the Diamond Beauties. It's Diamonds,
Yes.
yeah. And I mean that's women all over the world.
Yeah.
There's
And
lots of communities.
in Victoria, 18 months ago, Victoria in the world is the first time. It's called the Victorian Historical Forced Adoption Redress Scheme. That we got a payout, a financial payout. It wasn't massive, but we got that validation, and in that we got part of that payout was 20 free counselling sessions, and my counsellor is in Melbourne, and so of course we do it on Zoom, you know,
Yeah.
um, and Australia's been really in the forefront of a lot of this, and the world will catch on. The world is starting to catch on that the damage. My counselor said to me one day, "Do you know what your son is looking for?" And I said, "He's looking for his identity." And she said, "Yes." I said to her, and this is a message for out there, I said to her, "Do you know, I know him, even though I haven't met him yet. I know everything about him. Everything about him. I may not know if he likes jam or Vegemite, but I know everything about him. But he doesn't know me." And she said to me, "How can he live for 9 months under your ribs and not know you? How can he do
Yep.
that? How can she do that?" And so, if that's the case, that's not just with children that were taken away, babies, but it's about everybody. We know each other. We are each other. That's the whole thing. You know, we are that sameness. And, in all my readings, what I do know, people are looking for the same thing: safety. Am I lovable? Will I be loved? Will I have financial security? Will I have a home? Will I have meaning and purpose? It doesn't matter what shape that takes, but that's what we are about.
Yeah.
And if and of the 14,000 plus that I've done, everyone's the same. So therefore, everyone's the same. You know.
Yes. They actually are. They really are. So when you help and you work with other people that are stuck, right? So as do you do it as a medium clairvoyant, and
I
or
do.
how do you have those abilities help others to heal?
I do it through readings, and my readings are, they've been known to be very long, but now they're around 90 minutes, because all the good stuff comes at the end. You always notice that. And I have this drop here, but then at the end, it's like, that's why I don't, I'm too old now to do like 30 minutes. I'm in my 70s. I've got to give myself a little bit of credit and downtime now. But they're quite unusual readings. They're quite a lot of fortune telling too. This is going to happen within 2 years, and you're going to go there and you'll wear a red dress and that sort of caper. But there's also the compassion in there, and it's bringing in the healing. If somebody's passed over, I can bring them through, and we can give that healing, because when somebody's passed over, what we want from them is to know that they're safe, that they've arrived home, and that's part of what I do. And the other thing that I have to do, and this is my training, is when somebody comes from the other side to speak to them, I've got to give you what we call proof of survival. So I've got to give you 2 or 3 things about that person that's told me, so you can say, yes, yes, I know that. I know that. Because I can, like at my age, everybody's got a grandmother in spirit at my age, you know?
Uh-huh.
That's not clairvoyant. And anybody can say anything. So I've got to give you something that's pertinent to that person who's passed over. And so then you know that I'm really working with them, because that's very important, to know that. And it's really about bringing through the safety, that people are safe, that no matter what is coming up ahead, you're going to be okay. You're really going to be okay. I don't sugarcoat things. I call a spade and not a shovel. I'm an Australian off-white lady, as you can tell. I'm more of the New Zealand accent. I've been here on and off now for 36 years, but we've been here this time 6 years. And so, but it's in that. Then I've got courses that I'll be running with deliberate manifestation, because it's like this hodgepodge stuff. I want it more deliberate.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I write in my book is that I decided, I used to play bingo in Australia, in Melbourne, and on a Friday night, the last hand every Friday night was worth $10,000. I thought that was quite nice to get. So I ordered it up and I got it. And then I thought, oh, that was a nice experience. But it was so surreal. I want to be present. So I want that experience again. Thank you very much. So I ordered it up. And it was like I think it was 12 months later, I got it again. And then I thought, oh, I wonder if you could do the trifecta. I should do it 3 times. Wouldn't that be awesome? And so I didn't get it 3 times. I only got 5,000 the next time. But the really funny thing about that is Dennis didn't come with me, my hubby. He was home sorting out something. And I realized the reason I didn't get the 10,000 is I just received a check for 50,000. And Spirit said, well, you've just a couple of weeks ago, you got 50 grand out of nowhere. It just came from nowhere. And so, we can share this 5,000 with somebody else or 10,000. I was happy with that. I still won the trifecta. And so I ordered that sort of thing up. And the other thing, because I hate winter, I really hate winter with a passion. And I thought that I should have 3 summers in one year. So a lady told me, who actually lived in Gisborne about 20 odd years ago, she told me you can live in America with no money for a month. And I thought, well, nobody told me I can't, so I did. And so I went to Santa Cruz for a month. I spoke at a conference as a guest speaker in Tampa, Florida. From there, I flew back. I went to Canada for a month to see Dennis's daughter and I met our grandchildren and my stepdaughter. And then I flew back and I went back to Tampa, Florida with no money. And that was just so amazing. It just came up, and I from the I was supposed to go back to Santa Cruz, and she told me she didn't like me and she didn't want me there anymore because she read an email that I'd written, and I go, well, what do I do now, Lord? I've got another month I have to fill. And when I went to the conference, I met up with some people and I was telling them, and they said, well, why don't you come here? Because my wife has got a broken ankle and I can't be with her through the day. So if you could be her companion, we'll feed you. And I had no money. I had no money. I stayed in Tampa, Florida for a month with no money. And I did exactly what I was told I could. And the reason I did is because nobody told me I couldn't.
Yeah.
So what
Barbara,
would you
you and I know you and I could go on. We've only got about
oh,
3 minutes left, but you are such a delight. And I mean, everything that you've been through, I think it's incredible. What you do, and the fact that you are still with us, and I'm glad you are. Um, but it's just truly amazing. It's definitely a story of resilience. But we have a couple of minutes left, and I know you have a YouTube channel. What would you like everybody to know about how they can contact you, how they can connect with you, what you do for people?
Okay, my email, sorry, my Facebook page, you can direct message me, is the Old Girls Spiritual Stuff Facebook page. My YouTube channel is the Old Girls Spiritual Stuff. I was given the name, it's like, what is it going to be? I'm an old and I'm girl, so it's old girl. Um, and through an email can be the old girls spiritual stuff at gmail.com, or through my website, which you've got up.
Mhm.
So any of those, if you want a reading or be part of my new direction with workshops over Zoom, of course, and just bring some magnificence into your world. I'm also at a Healing Million Summit, the new era of global healing. My hashtag is Global Goodness Matters. So everything I do is all about global goodness and love matters, that sort of thing. So any of those aspects would be great.
That is wonderful.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Laura.
Oh, you bet. We've got about a minute left. What's the last thing that you want people to take away from this?
There but for the grace of God go I. And the other one that I will leave you with, that I've lived by for decades, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. I
Yes, it
say
will.
that so often.
And you are living proof. Barbara, thank you so much. Everybody, I hope I hope you heard what Barbara has to tell you. There's things that you can get through, like she says, this too shall pass. She's been through a lot. So if that is something that you've been struggling with or that you're stuck with, please reach out to Barbara. She's, as you can see, she's a joy to speak with. And yeah, the whole thing is getting people that help and support. And you never know where your tribe is.
Your team, yeah, your team, your tribe.
Yep. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Everybody, I hope you have a beautiful Monday, and we will catch you all next time. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.